Hi, my name's Paul. Today I was going to talk about stress and what I've found as a useful way to address the issues that cause stress. I mean, we all have stress from time to time. It takes many forms: headaches, body sensations or discomforts, clutter in our head, tinnitus. There's dozens of different ways that stress can manifest in our being and in our body. And I'd like to put forward a hypothesis that I've found to be true for me in my journey through mental health issues and the resolution of some of those that I've made for myself, this being one of them. So stress, it's something that's unpleasant. It's not something that we enjoy, and it distracts us from the act of living, from focusing on what the issues actually are and what life is actually about, and causes us all sorts of discomfort and close to pain at sometimes. So the hypothesis I'm going to put forward is that I'll say all stress, because that's my belief, but there may be those who differ with that. All stress is caused by conflict at some point, conflict within us. One point of view combating with another point of view, so that, this conflict, obviously it's going to cause stress and anxiety and all those uncomfortable feelings and sensations. And I'd like to also assert, from my point of view, that conflict that goes on in our head mainly, in our mind, is largely to do with the conflict between the adult and the child. I say that because when the child came into this world, it wasn't rational. It didn't understand how the world operates. It tended to be impulsive, maybe developed into a compulsion later on, and it sort of just acted with the world as it knew it. And its world was almost totally confined. Well, it was in my case almost totally confined, and I guess it's close to that or true of that for many others, to the life within the family. Now your experiences of family will vary, but mine was rather dysfunctional, to put it mildly. And so that was the only world I knew. That was the world as far as I was concerned. And if you have a particularly dysfunctional, maybe even abusive early life, you are hugely disadvantaged later in life, and issues such as stress, anxiety, depression will possibly arise for you in your adult life. And the reason I believe they tend to surface towards teenage and adult years, mostly, is because that child does not know, is still within you, but it does not know how the real world operates. All it knows is the confined experience of its early years in the family, and maybe schooling and a few friends perhaps. And so if that was a dysfunctional world where the child learned dysfunction, and of course the child's not rational because it doesn't know how the world operates, to think in a logical, clear, linear sort of way, which an adult does, because it knows how the world operates. It has all that inside knowledge that the child doesn't have. And it knows what's real and what's not. So here is where the conflict happens. The child is still within us in our teenage years and adult years, and the adult sees differently than the child if it's learned dysfunctional learning and ideas. So that there is a conflict. The adult sees the reality. The child is urging one thing. The adult is seeing the dysfunction of those choices, if you like, and there is this conflict. The child wants to do this. The child's going to do this because it's always done it. But hang on. That's in conflict very often with what we actually know as adults is in our best interests. So actually, it's not hard to see that there is this conflict leading to stress, anxiety, depression sometimes, maybe even anger, and a range of emotions and feelings. And so really what needs to be done, and I believe, we can have all sorts of remedies for stress. We can have therapies, and that's usually a slow progress. We can have medications. We can take drugs if we want. We can drink alcohol. We can party up and pretend everything's hunky-dory. We can do homeopathic remedies. We can do relaxation. We can do all manner of mental health therapies and supports and so on. But to me, the most constructive way to alleviate not just the symptoms. If you're just treating the stress, the anxiety, the depression, you're not really dealing with the root cause, which, as I alluded to, I believe is the conflict between the adult and the child. And because the adult is in the know as to what is rational, and this child within you doesn't, and wants to do all these things, or has always done them, and they may not be in our interest. But the adult does know what is actually in our interest. And if that is clear to you, then I think the onus is on you as an adult to take charge of that child and choose the things that are in your interests, even though the child may be kicking up rough about it within you. Because that, to me, is what needs to happen. The adult has to have the power in an adult life. And we always have the child within us, but the child has to learn that this adult who is now the case is taking a firm hand to give that child something to rely on, to trust, and to know it's being looked after and guided in a good way. So now the mechanisms of actually resolving these kind of issues, if you know the issues, if you don't, it's a bit difficult, and you can do what you can to alleviate the stress, etc. But if you have some idea of what the issues are, then I believe we need to have that conversation between adult and child. And to me, and the child may kick up rough about that too. Not doing this, don't want to do it, don't feel like it, can't bother. Hey, listen, we're doing it. I'm in charge here. I'm the adult. And I'm looking after you. Maybe tough love, it may be whatever you think it is, but at least I'll be reliable for you, and I'm actually looking after you. So you have these conversations in a kind of role play. Someplace quiet, maybe at home in your flat where no one's around, What I'm suggesting is that you actually have this role play where you play both the adult and you play the child, and you can change seats maybe and go between, have that conversation. And if there's something that you know is an issue and you're conflicted about it, it's causing you stress or anxiety or depression or anger or any range of emotions, well, let that be the subject of the conversation. And something like this: right, we're going to do this even though you may not feel like it, because I know that's in our best interest. Oh, but I don't feel like it. Oh, no, I've always done this. No, it seems too risky. I'm afraid. I want to do what feels familiar. Sorry, we're doing this whether you feel like it or not. We are doing this because I know what is in my best interest. I know how this world works. And you, I'm afraid, have learnt the wrong lessons. So, trust me. But, I really, I just don't feel like it. I've always done this. And what are you doing? Well, actually, I'm helping us both. Because if you learn these lessons that I'm teaching you and do the things that are in our interest, and there may be a specific issue that you want to discuss with the child in this sort of way, but if you do these sort of things, you'll learn to trust, and we will sit comfortably with each other, the child and the adult. In fact, they will be totally congruent. The child has developed into this functional adult who knows how the work is, has all the beauty and spontaneity of a child, and the joy and the imagination, but it's not leading both of us, the child and the adult, when we're not congruent and as one. It's leading us both down a dodgy path where we experience all those things such as stress, depression, anxiety, and basically misery for ourselves. So yes, think of an issue maybe, and if you buy this idea and have that conversation, you're really having it with yourself, because the child is you at the end of the day, and so is the adult, but you're divided and you're conflicted. So really, it's a matter of allowing the child gently but firmly to see a better way, and to insist as an adult that when you see something is clearly not in your interest, that you've maybe done all your life, we are doing this whether you feel like it or not, because I know it's in my interest. And once we've established that, done it a couple of times, you might find you're more comfortable in that, and we can be united, and together we can move on in a better way, where you're not feeling stress, etc. I'm not feeling stress, etc. And we are one. And any conversations we have will totally be with ourselves. And this is a conversation with ourselves, really. But it's quite helpful, I believe, to do that role play. That's really all just about the time I have for. So this is just my idea from my own experience, for what it's worth. If you're interested and you think it might be worthwhile, perhaps give it a go. I totally recommend it. Talk to someone about it if you like, or share it with another and see what they think. It is up to you at the end of the day whether you want to progress in a good way with your life. Okay, thanks. See you next time.